Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday and happy Thanksgiving. I hope you are enjoying your day and getting time off for yourself and to spend with your family. It's just one of my favorite holidays of all. Recitals are soon. They are in 2 weeks. I can't believe it, December 13th. And so please, if you don't have it on your calendar, put it on there now. We're doing recitals all day, 12 all the way till 7 or 8. And so come and join us for that. It'll be at Millbrook Baptist Church. And yeah, then we have break and starting a new part of the semester in January. If you are not a student, we would love to have you for that. We have kind of a new promotion going out. If you are interested in getting a gift certificate for somebody for the holidays, it is a perfect time to do so. And so I will write out any message you want to put on your gift certificate or anything. They are perfectly curated to what you want. And so, yeah, we're doing that, and we would love to have you for the new part of the semester. As you can see, I'm not sitting here by myself. I want to introduce you guys to my brother, my younger brother. His name is Matt, and I am going to ask him some questions. He looks thrilled, doesn't he? But I wanted to, I admire him very much, and so I wanted to be able to introduce you guys to him and talk about a little bit about music and what he does and everything. So, Matt, hello.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm good.
Good, good. So I always ask this to my family members. What is your favorite memory of us together? And I have one too.
Together?
Or just of me.
Oh,
Or
of
of you.
you?
Yeah. Or of us together is probably a better one.
Okay, I've got one.
All right, go
Of
for it.
you.
Go for it.
It's one of my favorite memories of Erin. Classic. Okay, so in high school when Erin first got her driver's license, um, before she got her first car, my grandparents gave her yeah, I guess they were both Nana was still alive at this point. So they gave her it was like a 1978 Buick, all white. It had all leather interior. It was a boat, just a boat, wider than my current house. It just a massive car. Um, and when it was first bought, was I think like probably considered a nice car, but by this point in the I guess this would have been like 1999. Was just moldy. Everything, the paint on the outside, the leather interiors, everything, and it smelled like mold. And Aaron at the time, as a I guess a sophomore, you were at the end of your sophomore year, so my freshman year in high school, um, was a hostess at the Red Lobster, in Raleigh. She knows what I'm going to tell. And so she's a hostess at the Red Lobster, and the Red Lobster is on. Okay, so it's like there's the road, and then there's a road that goes down a hill, and the Red Lobster is like here going down the hill. It's a pretty steep hill, and then over here is like a shopping center with like a parking lot and a parking lot for the Red Lobster, both of which have like a wall, and they're both going significantly downhill. Okay, so this old boat of a Buick. So Aaron's driving to work, and she is turning left onto this road to get into the parking lot of the Red Lobster, and um, this old boat of a Buick was not in good shape, which is one of the reasons, I guess, why Nate and Papa were happy enough to just give it to you. Um, and the brakes went out momentarily, and so let's pause here for a moment. So, okay, typical, even like, okay, 16-year-old kind of thinking, you go, okay, there's like an emergency brake, I have a steering wheel, the car still drives, I can put it in park. She might be going, she literally went from a stop to turning, so I don't know. What do you say, 4 or 5 miles an hour? Like
That's pretty fun.
at
Yeah.
most, it wasn't going fast. So like so many options available. Okay. Number one option, though, for this one, coming out of the car was to open the car door and jump out and I guess roll down the road And the car, is it on this side by the Red Lobster or by the Conquis?
It was going towards the
The
Conky. It
Conquis.
was going
Okay.
down an
Okay,
embankment.
so it goes down this direction, and like I said, it's a boat. The thing is longer than an aircraft carrier, sitting like this, and like all you can see is like the rear end of this car, apparently from the main road, Old Wake Forest Road, and um, and so that was Erin's first. That was her first choice
Yeah.
when the brakes go out
I
at
didn't
three
have a
mile
good
at
track
three
record with
miles
driving.
at 3 miles an hour. That was it's not about driving. This was
It's
about
just
something different.
got it. Yes.
So anyways, that's one of my favorite stories of Erin. Um thankfully no one was hurt, including Erin, even though she courageously rolled to save her own life. Who cares who's in the way of this car? But no other. There were no other cars. There nothing. The car just it. I did. I guess it did damage a brick wall a little bit.
Well, it was just a curb, and it was just
No, but there was a wall. It was like a walled, like kind of
yeah, but it wasn't.
like.
It was still. The hind wheel got caught on the curb, and so it was kind of standing straight up on the embankment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you see. So the point is, no one was hurt. No major property was hurt.
When I went to, they were like, "Is that your car?"
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah. That was my favorite part of the story is that people she was working with looking across the street going, "Oh gosh, I hope no one was hurt. Whose car is that?" And she's like, "I don't know. Whose car is that?"
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty funny. I did some dumb things with cars when I was younger too, just like overall. But my good story, funny story about Matt and I is that Matt and I, we used to love to dress up in costumes. And for when we were young, like elementary age, we would get asked for costumes for, the holidays and stuff like that. And so there was a video of
Wait,
us.
for Halloween
I didn't say, I meant for Christmas. We would get them as presents.
as
Yeah.
presents.
Yeah, sorry, as presents. And so, and we would like rate our grandparents everything. We would just take it all. But we had a thing with Elvis. And so he dressed up like Elvis one time. And I was like
How did you dress up?
I was just like a dancer. And so we were,
Elvis's horse.
no, but isn't there like a video of you singing like Elvis or something? And then I was like dancing on the side or
I'm
something.
sure there is somewhere.
Yeah, we did a lot of costumes when we were younger. A lot of costumes. And so that's a fond memory.
Mhm.
But also another memory I have of Matt is that Matt was always very popular in high school, and he doesn't believe it, but he was always very popular. And you always had like tons of people around, and so I always thought he was really, really cool, and I wanted to be around.
No,
Yeah.
no, they were only hanging around me because they just wanted to hang out with my big sister.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
That's it. She
okay.
paid me to say that on
Yeah, I
the
did.
YouTube channel.
I did.
So
So, yep. All right. So I got to ask about your profession because this channel, he's asked me a little bit about what this channel is all about. And so one of the things obviously is music that we're going to talk about. But another big thing is just like mental health and career stuff and things like that. And so I'm so proud of my brother. So I want him to tell you what he does for a living. And yeah, yeah.
I am the middle school music chaplain at Trinity Episcopal School in Charlotte. I'm an ordained minister in the Presbyterian Church USA. And yeah, so I teach sixth, seventh, and eighth grade uh, what's called faith studies is the category, but I teach basically religions to middle schoolers at an Episcopal school, and I also lead the music at all the chapels. Or at least help to organize it if I'm not leading it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I do.
Yeah, he's a chaplain, and he kind of followed in the footsteps of our grandfather, who was also a chaplain. Not quite the same. They did different things, but our grandfather was a great guy too, and was a chaplain at Central Prison in Raleigh for many, many years, and was also a chaplain in the Navy during World War II and after.
Well, for 30 years.
For 30 years, yeah. And so
Yeah.
he has fallen in his footsteps. And so he's worked all over. He's worked in churches and he's working at a school now, which is really cool. And he's doing music, which
Mhm.
you'll get to know him in a second, but he has always been a very musical person, just not in the same way that I am a musical person. But actually, you want to talk about that a little bit, like what music means to you
Yeah. Well,
and
I
your
guess
experience with music.
in my family growing up, music was the civic religion of the family. So like you think of like the stuff that brings families together, and like music was um it was rare growing up as kids to have a family gathering where my grandfather wasn't sitting down at the piano to play something, and if like my mom and any of her um in particular her two sisters were there to sing something, or and then just as you know, my sister was doing music and my stepdad um was doing his music, which is of a different nature, of a different sort, and I from an early age was just around it all the time. And so in whatever ways you can say someone is just naturally born into the, you know, kind of the water, born in the water, as folks who like can swim are really good at doing certain things because they've just been around it their whole lives. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily really good. I would just say that I certainly am comfortable with it, and it's in kind of an obvious part of my life. Um, and it's because of that. It's just like in our family, it was impossible to be part of the family without engaging in music in some way. But in particular with my mom, who when we were kids, you know, we we did not grow up, for instance, with classic rock. We did not grow up with even a lot, very much pop music. Every now and then we listen to a radio station that had some oldies and that kind of stuff, which would, I guess, be more kind of 1950s, in particular, maybe soul and R&B stuff. But like, I don't remember rock being part of things with mom. I think there was a time where she was into that, but no, we grew up on like listening to a symphony, and then my mom quizzing us on what instrument was just playing, you know. We didn't always learn the names of I didn't always learn the names of musical pieces, and I knew a little bit more perhaps about composers, but that was the world. And then we would get dragged off to go to like the symphony or the ballet, which was all, you know, with the symphony a lot of times, or uh
Opera.
yeah, certainly opera. But like we did some opera stuff as just because we were around our mom. We let's see, I mean, the oratorio stuff, I'm not sure. I think we only saw a couple of those because usually we had to have like a babysitter or someone
Mhm.
who would like take us there and back because my mom was singing in it and stuff. But like, yeah, it was just constant. It was always there. And music was something that we listened to in the house. So like it, you know, at holiday times, you know, Christmas, we'd listen to, you know, not just whatever came on the radio of Christmas music, but there were particular, you know, albums or groups or pieces that we would listen to. And like growing up in at church, like we were always in the children's choir, which my mom directed. And uh she was also our music teacher all the way through elementary school. So um I think it was just assumed, oh yeah, music is something you do. So for me, the question wasn't, oh, are you going to be musical? Are you going to do music? Is music going to be something? It was more like what musical styles,
Yeah.
uh, or what instruments. And And so that value was kind of just handed to it. There came a point where it wasn't something that mom had to force us to do. She wasn't like pressuring, so, oh, you better get in there and practice, or you better. It wasn't like that. The relationship was more just like, obviously, here's this big event that's fun, actually, and kind of exciting. And usually there was some kind of treat that you got to have. You got to stay up usually later than most of your peers,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean. There was something exciting about it, and it was this big event, and music was always like this big, pretty central piece of it, whether it was church stuff or the symphony or stuff at school or whatever. So, music to me means, yeah, just like culture and um, community and uh, excitement. I mean, expression. I think as I got older, that's when I really started expressing myself a lot more through the choices I made and what I wanted to do musically, and what what instruments I wanted to play and how I wanted that to look. But the fact that I was doing music was always clear. Might not have been as clear to my mom. She struggled with,
The style.
musical styles and like what that meant and looked like. And I kind of just by that point I was sure enough of my own musical interest and frankly ability to learn and grow and know what I wanted, that I didn't really care what mom thought about that. And I knew like eventually at some point she was going to come around and realize that I was still doing music. So I was playing in, I started my first band. It was like a really bad, pop punk thing. I was in seventh grade. It was the end of seventh grade. I started playing guitar and bass guitar, both of them, in sixth grade. Mostly, I guess, like in youth group and stuff. And I learned playing three chords to, I'm trying to think, like some of the cheesy songs that Lord, I lift your name on, whatever.
Yeah.
Like one of those that has literally three chords. It's the same thing over and over and over again. But actually, and learn how to do it when all these other people are singing. Really good school for how to learn to play with people and how to learn to stay on rhythm and use your right hand. Like when you're learning guitar, you want to focus a lot, and I'm a right-handed person, so a standard guitar, like on your left hand forming the chords, but really the more important piece is your right hand with strum patterns and rhythm, because guitar is a rhythm instrument. And so um, there are very few places better than doing that. Like culturally in our society, there's not any other places you can learn to play and do music in that way than like in either a church or some other kind of religious community. Um, you can see where I'm going with this in my work. But like there just aren't there. Those opportunities do not exist. And so I have, for instance, right now I have these kids that we have a chapel music affinity group for middle schoolers, and they're learning how to, some of them are just naturally good musicians, and large part of that is because they grew up going to churches where they were expected to do music. And I say expected like they were made to do it. They want to do it, where they were affirmed in their musical abilities to be able to do that. And the other ones are learning it, but it's because they're playing in this context of like chapels. It's giving them this opportunity to, oh, I'm not just performing. It's not just me playing guitar. I'm having to lead people. I'm having to like make sure that what I'm doing is in a way that I can draw people into this musical process. So, music for me from an early stage was that. It was a way to like bring people together, a way to it was a language. It is a language, it is all that stuff.
Yeah, and Matt is humble, so he won't say it. He is a very, very good guitar player. And he is a songwriter and has written a lot of really cool songs. And he has some albums and stuff I've listened to.
Don't say it.
Not like
No,
professional albums, but stuff out
I
there. But no, he is a really good songwriter and guitar player, and a lot of it he learned on his own. He figured out how to play, and yeah, it's really cool. And he's a good singer too. He's a really good singer. Maybe someday he'd sing for this. Not today, but maybe at some point.
yeah,
And so
it's not today.
it's not today.
And
But
so Thanksgiving dinner.
yeah. But in years past on holidays, we would all sit around and play guitar. Well, he would play guitar and then we would all sing together, and that's a pretty regular thing for our family. And so it's really nice having someone. It's just so interesting because, I'm a classical musician and mom is a classical musician. And to have someone else who's so talented in this family that's not a classical musician, it's really cool. He's actually gotten me to like a lot of cool bands and stuff that I had never known about. And he's really huge into Ireland and stuff. And so he's introduced me to a lot of Irish singers and stuff like that. And so I wouldn't have known them without him being around. But before we go, is there a message that you would like to give to young musicians or
Mhm.
people who are doing what you're doing, or maybe
Mhm.
who are interested in going into the ministry,
Mhm.
or, do you have any
Well,
advice?
now for that last bit, I'd just say what the people, including my grandfather, but other folks who told me, if you can do anything else at all, do that. Um, and then if you end up doing it, then that's kind of to use the language of call, that's what you're called to do. So if you can do anything else at all, do that, do that. But no, in terms of music, this is a big thing. This is something I talk about because I work with kids who want to do music. And um so when I was coming along in middle school and in high school, I had a band. I was in middle school, and that was like, just, yeah, obviously that's something that kids did. Like, I was far from the only one. I mean, I'm trying to think. Even at my middle school, which wasn't like I went to one middle school for sixth grade and then another one for seventh and eighth. And the one I went to in seventh and eighth grade was not like the most artistically inclined middle school. It just didn't have. I mean, my band director was great, but in general, it didn't have like that kind of culture. But even at my middle school, I think there were a couple other folks who were starting bands or whatever. And then there were other schools where that was happening just constantly, and like kids were learning that way, they're learning how to play with others. And in high school it was like everybody was playing it, even in like at a weird time in like in the late 90s, and at the turn of the millennium, it was like even the jocks were like, yeah, I'm dabbling in guitar. Like, I thought about starting a band or joining a band, like, and that was just something that regularly happened. That was just regular. That was just something. And it wasn't like we went to a really artsy high school, but like even at other high schools, there were just, I would play in these shows in these all ages shows with high school bands from all over. And uh, there were bands, even more bands from some of these other high schools, and it was just something that happened. They realized, oh, I'm going to make music. I'm going to have to join with other people, and we're going to have to learn how to play together. We might write some songs together. Even if they didn't, they might have just played covers. That's fine. But like, they're learning to play together, and they're having to like, they're scheduling these things to go play these all ages shows that happen. Sometimes they were in like bars that did these, but at other times it was like at the university club or at someone's house in their garage, and there were like four different high school bands playing or something. I don't know. And all of that to say, you can be a great musician. You can be a technically proficient musician. You can practice, you can learn how to not only play your primary instrument of choice, which might be guitar or piano or some other instrument, the French horn or whatever, and then learn to play synth, because anyone who can read music, who knows anything about music, can learn how to play a MIDI instrument and on your computer, and you can basically create songs yourself on your own, on your computer, at home, never once meeting with another person, and then you put this out. And I think I found that kids nowadays, that's what they do. They tend toward that. And there are some incredible musicians, but there is not the same love of music, even among those kids.
Yep.
They there's a certain, because you are the worst critic of your own stuff. And I know this because I am the worst critic of my own stuff. And it's always going to be true for anyone doing music. You're always going to hear all the stuff that you did wrong. And so you need other folks who are there to say, hey, yeah, sure. No, we all had those parts, but it's okay. And yet the product, the thing that we did, if you can call it product, the thing we did together,
yeah, that's okay,
was this, like, was something much bigger than just making a perfect musical product.
Yep.
It was something that happened, and then it happened in this moment, and you did it together, and then you could miss it if you weren't there and you didn't participate in it. And so I want to encourage as many folks as possible to get involved in that way. And like, obviously, I can be a proponent of what happens in religious communities, because I think that doesn't happen anywhere else, where folks come together and they sing for an hour on either a Friday evening in a synagogue or on Sunday morning in a church or whatever. Like, that doesn't happen. That's such a weird thing culturally, and yet it's so important. And
so
if
important.
we miss out on I think the main point of the music, which was that it brought us together in a moment to help us understand something about humanity together, not alone. Yeah. So there you go.
Yes, I just am so in alignment with what he it keeps popping up. Okay. It's all about community. I think it's so great. He's very wise. I've always thought of him as kind of the older brother, but he's not the older brother. And he's just wise. But Matt, thank you so much for coming on today. And maybe someday I could have you again at some point if he'll come on. But uh yeah, I'm very much in alignment with how Matt views music, and I'm just so proud of him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. See you guys.